Well, today on the Indo-Canadian Report, we've got a Bollywood story with a Canadian twist. It's a semi-autobiographical one-woman show called Anand. It was written, directed and performed by Yasmin Virani. She spends her time in Toronto and Vancouver, going back and forth, and she joins us now from our studio in Vancouver. Yasmin Virani, welcome to The Link.
Thank you so much.
So, Anand, what is it about? I understand it explores multi-layered themes.
Exactly, yes. Well, as you mentioned, it's semi-autobiographical. So it's really about my journey of being an East Indian kid growing up in Toronto. And at the same time, interwoven in that is this beautiful love story about two best friends who fall in love.
Two best friends. Now, one of the main themes in your play seems to be the search for identity. Tell us about how you made that journey yourself.
Well, my parents were actually Ugandan refugees. So, they in 1972, all the South Asians were expelled from Uganda. And so they came here really penniless, like most immigrant families have the same story. So I think being brought up in Canada, but then having these roots in Africa, but at the same time, my parents being from India, it is definitely multi-layered.
Were you born there in Uganda?
I was actually born in Canada. I was actually born in Vancouver.
So how do you identify yourself now?
Well, I think one of the great things about being Canadian is that there is so much diversity. So, when I was younger, I just identified myself as being South Asian. But now I really don't, I see myself as being a Canadian South Asian. And I embrace all of the different roots I have now.
And now in Vancouver, you're actually from Toronto.
Yes, I know, exactly. And I actually studied at McGill, so I'm all over Canada, really.
Now, I understand Anand is also a Bollywood love story, but you've put your own spin on it. Tell me about that.
Yes. One of the interesting things, I'm a big Bollywood fan. I love Bollywood movies. But one of the things I found is that the stories are just not relatable. Like, they don't speak about, East Indian children or South Asian children that are born and raised in the Western part of the world. So what I wanted to do was I wanted to sort of have a similar format where it is a love story, but also tell a very real, a very contemporary, and a very honest story. So that's how it's different.
Tell me about growing up as an Indo-Canadian artist in Canada. I understand you were cast as Gupta in the CBC Indo-Canadian drama Jinnah on Crime. Yeah. Did you find that you were getting stereotypical roles?
Yeah, I definitely, because I think one of the comments that I most heard was that, you don't look like a typical Indian actress, because I didn't have an accent, because, I don't have, a size 2 frame. I just don't fit that part. At that time, I had short hair, typical times when they're casting for an East Indian woman, they want long, dark hair. So I think...
Is this relatively recent too? We're not talking like 20 years ago.
No, we're not talking 20 years ago, but I do think at the same time things have changed. I think we're talking maybe 7 years ago, 8 years ago. So it was still relatively recent. I do think things have changed, though. I think Bollywood films, in a really weird way, has sort of opened a huge market, because as they sort of become progressive, so too do people realize that, hey, East Indian people can act. And so we're getting cast in different roles. Unfortunately, now, though, I think the stereotypes have changed. I think instead of playing the taxi driver now, you're playing the terrorist, But having said that, I don't want to seem extremely negative, because, there's a lot of positivity happening too.
So are you seeing changes in the way South Asians are being portrayed in other arts in Canada?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's one of the reasons, one of the reasons why I decided to do Anand was because of that. I think it's so important when you are an artist in the South Asian community to get out there, to tell your story, to interact with people, and really to create work for yourself. If work isn't available to you, then it's important that, all of us sort of band together and create that work.
Now, many immigrant parents, as we've heard on many occasions on the program here, have a hard time with their kids getting into the arts. How supportive were your parents when you decided that you wanted to pursue an artistic career?
It's funny you mentioned that because I hate saying this, but they weren't supportive at all. Although, now
You feel like that's falling into the stereotype.
well, I feel exactly. I feel like it's falling into the stereotype. And also because, of course, now they are supportive. I think once you sort of plug away at it for so long, I think now they've realized that, oh, no, wait a minute, she really does do this.
When did that change for them?
Well, I think as time went on, like I think as I started, as they saw how serious I was, it was a sort of a natural progression. It's not that I did one play and they thought, oh, okay, hey, it's changed, or it's not that I did, one TV program and it was a natural progression. And honestly, I think I really respect my parents for that, or my family for that, because I think it speaks volumes of a different generation, of a different time, for them to sort of as I've gone on my own personal journey, as I'm sure you have, so have they. And, I think, it's one thing to sort of constantly have that support, but I think also it speaks volumes when, you're able to say, hey, no, wait a minute, maybe I was wrong. Maybe I should have been more supportive. And I'm sorry about that, but, I wasn't there for you then, but I'm here now. And that to me is wonderful.
Anand is the name of the play. What does the title suggest?
Anand is actually a Sanskrit word. It translates to bliss, peace, or happiness.
And what do you want to convey to other Indo-Canadians, let's say, through Anand?
I think I would, the story is, although it's semi-autobiographical, the story really is of one woman sort of figuring out herself. And what led me on that journey was the idea of forgiveness. And really sort of the way to sort of forgive others is to find a way to forgive yourself. So, and hence find your way to bliss, peace, or happiness.
And where can we see it?
Right now, it's going to be playing February 12th in Los Angeles at the Second City Studio Theater, which is extremely exciting.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. And then back in Vancouver, hopefully. And then we'll take it from there. I really want to bring the play to Montreal because I love Montreal.
Well, you'll come in and see us when you do.
Of course I will.
Now, what's next?
What's next? I'm on tour this whole year.
Are you writing anything while you're going through this experience?
Yes, I am. Yeah, I'm actually writing my first Bollywood film. So there's the writing going on, and then I'm also currently in school. I'm finishing up. Finishing up my degree. So lots of different aspects being taken on right now.
What's the degree?
The degree is actually in social development studies. So I just finished my diploma in social work, and now I'm going for a certificate in child abuse. But corresponding with that is actually a degree in social development studies.
Sounds like you're having a marvelous year.
Yeah, it's a great year. It's amazing what happens when you let go of a lot of the things that you think are holding you back.
Well, congratulations, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor.